All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, February 26, 2024 meeting of the Administration and Public Works Committee. I will call this meeting to order and request Mr. Cano to call the roll.
Councilmember Reed, Councilmember Burns, Councilmember Kelly, Councilmember Harris,
Present.
Councilmember Nieuwsma.
Present.
We have a quorum.
A quorum in attendance. We will continue with business of this meeting. The first item of business is approval of the minutes from our January 22nd meeting. If somebody would like to make a motion.
I move for the approval of January 2nd Administration and Public Works Committee meeting.
Second.
Minutes.
It's been moved by Councilmember Harris, seconded by Councilmember Kelly. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The minutes are approved. That brings us to public comment, and before we get into public comment, at the direction of staff, I am going to be reading rules for public comment. City Manager Stowe, I believe this will be policy moving forward, at least for the time being. So, members of the public are welcome to speak at Administration and Public Works meetings. As part of the ANPW agenda, a period for public comments shall be offered at the commencement of each regular ANPW meeting. Public comments will be noted in the ANPW minutes and become part of the official record. Those wishing to speak should sign their name and the agenda item or non-agenda topic to be addressed on a designated participation sheet. If there are more than 5 speakers, a period of 20 minutes shall be provided for all comments, and no individual shall speak longer than 2 minutes. The chair will allocate time among the speakers to ensure that public comment does not exceed 20 minutes. The business of the Administration and Public Works Committee shall commence 20 minutes after the beginning of public comment. Council members do not respond during public comment. Public comment is intended to foster dialogue in a respectful and civil manner. Any person who makes such remarks or who utters loud, threatening, personal, or abusive language or engages in any other disorderly conduct which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of a meeting shall, at the discretion of the mayor or presiding officer, be barred from further participation during that meeting. Public comments are requested to be made with these guidelines in mind. So with that, we have 2 folks signed up for public comment, beginning with Patrick Keenan Devin in the room and then Jerry Garl online. Mr. Keenan Devin, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Patrick Keenan Devin. I'm the executive director of the James B. Moran Center for Youth Advocacy, and I'm coming to speak on behalf of agenda item A5. And I just wanted to thank the city manager and the director of Parks and Recreation, Audrey Thompson, for moving forward on agenda item A5, which is the establishment of the city's Community Response Initiative. This is yet another step in the right direction. The Moran Center sees it as a step in the right direction, another surgical approach for how the city addresses community members' issues and problems and lessens our dependence on law enforcement. And so I would really urge this council to recommend it to the, or recommend APNW to pass this on to the city council in a positive light. And the Moran Center stands ready to support the city in the implementation. And so that's all.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And that brings us to Jerry Garl, who is online. If somebody could make that happen. Go ahead, Ms. Garl.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to the Administration and Public Works Committee. I'm speaking about item A3, and that is the sole source contract with Ozinga for supplying concrete. I have a very brief comment. I know that the city, after there's been some conversation with Laura Biggs and other representatives of city staff about the use of low embodied energy concrete, and that Ozinga may or may not have the capacity to provide such a low embodied energy concrete. My sole request here tonight is to ask that the sole source contract, if it's assuming that it will be approved, include some provision to incentivize Ozinga to use the lowest embodied energy concrete available, and to continue to look for low embodied energy sources for future contracts they may have with the city. I realize that the advantage of having a local contractor is immense. And I also know that looking at a life cycle analysis of concrete gives, there are lots of different ways of approaching this, but there are technologies available that we will want to encourage in our procurement process. So I hope that you'll consider adding that language in the contract. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That ends public comment, which brings us to our consent agenda. Is there anything that committee members would like to remove from consent? A5.
So A3.
And A3. Okay, let the record reflect that Councilmember Reed is joining the meeting. And with that, I will accept a motion and a second on the consent agenda minus items A3 and A5.
I will move the I'll move the consent agenda minus items A3 and A5.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Mr. Keenan, could you call the roll?
Councilmember Reed,
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly. Aye. Councilmember Harris,
Aye.
Councilmember Nieuwsma.
Aye. By a vote of 4-0, the consent agenda minus items A3 and A5 is passed. That brings us to item A3, approval of a contract award with Ozinga Concrete for single-source purchase of concrete material.
So moved.
It's been
Second.
moved by Councilmember Reed, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Kelly.
So I just wanted to respond to the public comment and see if there is, if staff would respond to that, if it is. I'm sorry. It would be,
yeah,
okay,
it'll
sorry,
be-
pardon me.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Edgar Cano, Public Works Agency Director. At this time, the quote did not include using the
Low embodied.
low embodied energy, but that is something that we can take a look at. I'm not sure if any of the suppliers actually provided a quote with that. We looked specifically for state mix and mixes that have been approved by IDOT. We did not get a price on the low embodied.
Okay, but you don't mind checking that out?
I can reach
and
out to
letting us know. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
I do have a follow-up question on that item as long as we're talking about it. Ozinga is in town, which means even though it's more expensive per ton, we're not paying, the delivery fees essentially, the waiting fees that we would pay for the out-of-town suppliers. You've given us some per minute prices from these other suppliers, but how many minutes are we talking about? And in other words, how many dollars would we be talking about if we went with one of these other suppliers?
That's an excellent question. So the other suppliers are currently charging a $2 and a $6 per minute charge if we go over 1 hour with the cement truck. Currently, Ozinga waived that charge. They typically also charge their customers a wait time. However, the city of Evanston has multiple locations during the day where we usually keep a truck 3 hours, 5 hours, and even sometimes 9 hours, where they would have to run back and get some more concrete and come back. So there is significant savings there. Going off of the $6 per minute, I mean, looking at a couple hours there, you're over $1,000. So there's significant savings just by them waiving that wait time.
Yeah, so on an annual basis, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars of savings, if not hundreds?
I would say definitely tens of thousands of dollars on savings, depending on how many times we order concrete, which typically, on average, I think we were looking at potentially saving at least $30,000 from the past couple of years.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any further discussion on item A3? Seeing none, will you please call the roll, Mr. Keenan?
Councilmember Reed,
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly,
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Nieuwsma.
Aye. Bringing us to item A5, which is a proposal for alternative community response initiative.
I will move that we accept and place on file item A5.
Just for action.
The reason I move it in that manner is there's nothing for us to vote on there. There's no resolution, no ordinance, it's just a memo. So essentially, the only action we can take is to accept and place this on file and have, eventually a resolution or ordinance brought back to us.
Is that? I've been out the mix for a while, sorry, so I forget what I'm supposed to do.
If I could ask staff to address
Yeah, that's
this
what I was
matter
gonna do.
procedurally, how do we proceed from here?
Well, Attorney Ruggie, I think is the best for that.
Thank you, Chair and members of the APW Committee. Alexander Ruggie, Interim Corporation Counsel. Councilmember Reed is correct. There's no resolution or ordinance to approve, so this can be accepted and placed on file. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept and place on file this recommendation from staff. Is there any discussion at the committee this evening? Councilmember Reed.
Yes, I am really excited about us moving forward with this program. The council took the important step late last year when we approved our budget to set aside the $400,000 to make this program a reality, and the Reimagining Public Safety Committee has been working on this for quite some time, and thank you to Director Thompson and the Police Department for working diligently with our partners, LEAP and others. Councilmember Burns was chairing one of the subcommittees in Reimagining Police that came up with this, and so the team worked really well together to get this done. I think what we need is, I think the next steps are having fleshing out the plan a bit more, and then adding, I think we need either an ordinance, certainly an ordinance or resolution that authorizes the community responders to do their work, and maybe even provides protections for the community responders in our local code. And then I think we're ready to move forward with the initiation of this program. I will say that while I'm glad we're moving forward with this, I do have one concern. I do wish that the council would provide additional funding to this so we could create a more robust program. And so I do have slight concerns about, initially starting this underfunded and under-resourced, but it is a start, and I think I'm happy that we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Reed. Is there any other comment on item A5?
Sure. Just want to say I'm excited about it and the opportunities. Our residents have been, asking for less police response on certain situations. So I'm excited that we will move this forward and work within the community.
Thank you. I'll add a few comments as well. I'm looking forward to moving this to council this evening. However, I do think that since this is a fairly significant change, and we've done so much work that has gotten us to this point, I want to make sure that we are adequately communicating everything to the community. Not only the work that has gotten us to this point and all the factors that we've taken into consideration, all the stakeholders that have been part of this process, but also what our plans are moving forward. Because if this is going to be successful, we need to not only communicate internally to the various internal departments and stakeholders and do the right training, the right recruitment, but it's important that the community understands, first and foremost, that this new program exists, and then secondly, how to access the services of this new program. And so I really want to make sure that before we officially hit the go button on this, that we are prepared to do a pretty decent rollout and make kind of a splash, because this is such an important program, something that I've been eagerly anticipating for several months, and I want to make sure that when we do launch this program. We're doing it with, we're going to give it the attention that it deserves. So I do expect we'll have some additional conversation at council, which will hopefully start in about 10 minutes, because I will ask for a vote on item A5, and then we can convene this committee. So, Councilmember, or Mr. Keenan, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Reed? Councilmember
Aye.
Kelly? Councilmember
Aye.
Kelly? Councilmember Harris?
Yep, aye.
Councilmember Nieuwsma?
Aye. So item A5 has been approved by the ANPW committee to accept and place on file, and will move forward to the full council for a discussion later this evening. Seeing no further business to come before this committee, I declare the meeting adjourned, and council will start on time as scheduled at 5:45.